Okay.
Only gonna make me smile in silence.
Wow. Well, welcome everybody to today's LinkedIn Live, Twitter Live, Facebook Live. I'm laughing because we have to hold a smile for 5 seconds to make sure we don't look like total dummies in the thumbnail. It's a fun little fun task.
What you
But
mean when it's
today,
like,
ooh, which we've had many. Um, So today's the beginning of November. It's November 4th, and I'm always live on Friday, on the first Friday of the month. Thank you so many people for continuing to join me across multiple platforms. And today I have the most special guest of them all, the dopamine dealer, Joshua B. Lee, my business partner, my husband, my soulmate. Um, and it couldn't actually be a more perfect person because this month is Entrepreneurship Month. It's all about entrepreneurship. November 15th is National Entrepreneur Day. And when I think about the natural born entrepreneur, it's Josh. It really is this guy. And it's because of Josh and his entrepreneurial mindset that I was encouraged, to leave corporate. And so I think, Josh, a lot of people know about your story, but let's start with you, not with like, the 20-minute spiel, but like,
so this is what's crazy. Like, yeah, I get to be, you're interviewing me and you're like,
a
I was
little
like,
bit
oh
of
my God, this is gonna be like terrifying and scary. Because like, you already know all the, as you call the spiels and I don't mean I'll say something like, really? So,
I'm not
we'll
going to do
see
that.
how.
But I know all the good. I think what's really cool is first, Josh, I want to talk about your first entrepreneurial experience, which is not your first company. Start there. Talk about like being a natural born entrepreneur, where that started for you.
I mean, are we talking about where I used to go to summer school and realize that I could make money by counting cards, and my mom didn't realize why I wanted to go to summer school, and then she finally got a call from the school, and they were like, "Your son is causing issues by taking other kids' money." That one, or are we talking about where for German Heritage Month in my history class, I brought some non-alcoholic beer to be able to talk about my German heritage. And then afterwards, I got in trouble for trying to sell it to the other kids. Or we can go to where I had my parents buy me candy and had 100% profit and sold candy out of my locker. So there's a couple of them right there.
And I love these stories from when you were a kid because I didn't
Watching
do
all the angles.
yeah, like I didn't do stuff like that, y'all. Like I was the good kid. I was involved in all the organizations, student body president. You would not catch me selling anything beside like the gift wrap paper that's, for school sale. And that sort of mindset you've always had. You've always had this mindset of how would you describe that? Like that entrepreneurial mindset?
Um, I don't know. It's just something. I mean, when you kind of see, I almost called it like kind of seeing around corners, kind of
Mm.
being able to watch. I mean, being an only child growing up, being able to watch people, how they act, how they interact, how they hold themselves, the tonality in their voices, all those other things are different tells that you can be able to understand. And I'll be honest, it took me 30 plus, if not 40 years to understand how to be able to use it and leverage to help people, not just to be able to help myself and, manipulate situations. And that, I think that was one of the biggest things for me, right? Like seeing those different aspects, being an entrepreneur, going through there, it always kind of put me in a world that I felt outside looking in because I saw so many different aspects and I was very surprised that others didn't. And I never felt like I fit in. For most of my life, uh, even though I could make myself fit in any situation. And so that was always weird for me because I always was like, I was always part of all the crews from the smart kids to the athletes to the hangout kids, whatever. I'm trying to think of good words for the different aspects of different people. But I was never 100% in until I actually started connecting with other entrepreneurs that kind of saw the world the way that I did, the opportunities on how to be able to create opportunity out of nothing and to be able to find opportunities in the most minuscule of opportunity, minuscule things in life, and go, wow, there's something there. I bet we could take advantage of that and be able to shift it a little bit to be able to make a profit. Dude, and how are we doing an interview and all of a sudden, like, I know you heard it, you did really well, but I've got to just throw it out there. The freaking
I know.
smoke detector's going off.
Detector's going. I don't know how that's happening, y'all. That's annoying. But hey, look, my mom's here. Hey, mom. And we
Hey,
got
Mama
Tracy
Bear.
here, Arco, somebody, we got Bez. What up, Bez? There's a Facebook user. I can't, hey kids, seems to me like that could be Timmy. But it's so fun because we have all of the channels linked up right now, Josh,
Yeah.
which I think is so cool. And yes, you did celebrate. We're still celebrating Josh's 44th year. Beep, beep, we got Paul here. Amazing. I know you're hearing this. I don't even have my headphones. I'll try to get it. And I think it's interesting, Josh, because you have your entrepreneurial journey has evolved a lot. Now you're 20 plus years into this, and I'm a year plus working with you, and that there's a lot of things that I've learned when and you've been reflecting on this, right? 44 years, that means you've had 16 businesses, right? 16 businesses, and you were at UT and then left because you wanted to, so that was at like 21. So you've been doing this like since you were a kid.
Yeah.
When you kind of look back at the 2+ decades, who were you then? What are the like lessons that you've learned along the way that put you, I think, now in a place that you're feeling pretty good about what you're trying to create out there?
Always throwing me the hard questions. Um,
Is that hard, your lessons learned?
well, I mean, I want to make sure that when it comes to you, I always want to make sure that I'm always being as open, honest, and it's different interviewing with you, right? Because how I say things and what I say, I want to make sure they're truly from my heart and soul, because it's important on how you and I connect. One of the biggest things about our relationship is connection and communication. And then we have the world listening to us as we're talking right now. So it's a little bit different. But I think some of the biggest things that I really learned differently was what was other people's expectations, other people's definitions were not mine. And when I first started, everything that I built, I worked to accomplish were based off of definitions of success and what I should be doing, what you're supposed to be doing. From, even though I love my parents, but from our parents, from our peers, from our teachers, from all these different aspects of what they were passed down. And one of the biggest things where there's no right way or wrong way, or the way that you're supposed to be able to do anything. And when and really the biggest thing that shifted, and I see Bez talking about mowed lawns. Hell yeah, dude. I mowed some lawns too, man. It was great.
How like this is you. Like, I mowed lawn and my parents didn't give me allowance. They allowed me to live.
I like it. I like it. And as we talk about this, Ray, and kind of go through, the biggest thing that I look at and be able to go through, I was so scared for the world to be able to see me. Right. So I adjusted who I was and how I showed up based on the perception that I believed other people had of me.
Right.
And not until I realized, and this was a very long time ago, I have no clue. My perception of their perception was what was driving me crazy and drives most of this world crazy. We have no clue how others perceive us until they tell us. And in this social media driven world, we've gotten to this point where we're like, we believe what random people, we have no clue who they are. Thank God I've got some amazing, friends and family that are watching now. And I know these people are family. But I mean, like, prior to this, we look at this like, we'll post something on social and we'll get these haters. And it's like, you know what? Screw them. I mean, like, you got to drink your haterade, and you are not doing enough in this world until you have haters, because that means you're not pushing the edge enough. And because there's going to be people that show up, and I'm like, if you're just kind of going like at midstream, what are you really doing to be able to change this world other than just fall in line?
So a lot of your early entrepreneurial journey, and I think you should speak a little bit about that, right? Like the path to the divorce, the path to shutting down the companies, the, being inside your office and, really, that you were on a journey because you were so worried about, right, that perception and getting money
Yeah. I mean, that's
that
what it was all about. I mean, being able to kind of start this whole thing. I mean, this is what we're all told to be able to do. And I mean, I was blessed and cursed. We had some amazing, companies and wins in the beginning, like working with companies like MySpace and being able to really monetize the web early on and build multiple different companies. I mean, dude, I had problems, I had the, first world problems where like, how do I spend some extra money so I don't pay as much in taxes, right? And I got to be able to be one of the main sponsors for the San Antonio Spurs, Awesome Toros, and I mean like crazy stuff like this, but it was all like, oh, I can't wait to get my first Range Rover, right? And all this other bullshit. And watches and how I showed up. And it wasn't fulfilling. It was fleeting. And that showed up not only in my life, but in my business, where it affected that. And when I had kids, it shifted. I mean, I wanted to be more. I didn't want to be just the person that, Josh, the guy that can help you monetize online. I wanted to be, Josh, the person that's adding change to this world, that I can make this world a better place, not only for my own kids, but for everyone's. And, because of that and how I shifted going through, I had issues in my past marriage that were probably caused on both sides. It's not like just one person made mistakes kind of going through, and it put me in a place that really I contemplated my value on this planet. um Sorry, I get hard to kind of go through these things, but I mean, like, it's, would my family be better off without me, with the money that, with life insurance that I would leave and things like that. And that's not fair. That's not fair to other people that have felt this way. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to my family, to my kids. And I mean, luckily, I did find another group of individuals, Yannick Silver and Maverick 1000, that showed me there were other people like me in this world that were adding value to this world while doing well, right? It wasn't a sin to be able to do well, right? It wasn't, and that's the way I felt a lot of times. And you had to kind of hold that back, and people kind of go through. So it was a shift for me. And I mean, I remember too, a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder, gave me permission, right? He gave me permission to be able to take back my own life and to also be able to move forward. And that's kind of where going through divorce, resetting at 36, moving back in with my parents with a little bit under $1,000 to my name to be able to find a better path, find a better way. And it's kind of where, I started this whole thing. And I thought, I wrote my book, which is, yeah, Rachel, balance is bullshit. How to be able to get rid of this whole work life balance that we're all put into, this struggle that, you got this work life and this personal life. And that was the way I felt all the time. And the two were separate. But I mean, like, that's like having two different personalities. And I mean, if you have two different personalities, most people get locked up or on tons of meds for that kind of shit. And we have one life, we have to live it that way. And so that's kind of, what I work for today. And it took me a long time, even after the divorce. I mean, I was in a pretty good depression that most of my friends saw, but were waiting for me to be able to see. And until I actually saw that and went to them and found people, amazing people like yourself, I didn't find my true path.
Yeah, and your family here is supporting your vulnerability, which I think is beautiful. One of the most beautiful things about Josh is his vulnerability and his ability to just be emotional as a man, which I find incredibly sexy, but inspirational, really inspirational. And I think you're bringing up a really important piece of being a not whether you become a entrepreneur, right? Like I think I've always actually been quite entrepreneurial, but I just chose other paths, like
Yeah.
direction from the family and whatever. but the mental health side of it is a real topic. Like, all of us are experiencing, uh, mental health challenges after the past few years, right?
Yeah.
Our children are experiencing it, um, and then we personally are. And I do think, I'm not saying like, oh, being an entrepreneur is harder per se than being a working professional, but it is a different weight. And we talk about this so much, Josh. It is when you're in charge of all the paying the health benefits, all the money is up to you. Like, if it's to be, it's up to me. There's great freedom in that, but also great, um, what's the word?
Well, it silos people too. It
It's
puts people in silos where they feel alone. I mean, that's the kind of where
yeah,
I felt like I was all alone. It was all on me. And the crazy thing is like, especially in the entrepreneur world, when you start realizing and start opening up and starting sharing the things that you're struggling with the heart, because like everyone goes in the entrepreneur world. I mean, at least I saw this a lot in the beginning, was like, look at me beating on our chest, like I'm amazing, and it's like, I'm fine. I don't need anybody. And it's like bullshit. We all need someone. We all need something. And when you start realizing that there's other people out there and we actually band together, dude, entrepreneurs can change the world. And it's just, but you can't do it alone. And that will break everyone. And I think that's what goes through. I mean, we see this with athletes, right? They go through, even though they're on teams, they feel like it's all on them, especially the star athletes, right? That are going through there. And and until they start opening up of what's going on. And I do find it more beautiful that we're in a world that it's okay. I mean, you know, a family member of mine recently came to me too, and was talking about how it just it's really overwhelming at the company and stuff like that. And I said, dude, take a break. Like, you're overworking yourself. You need to take. He's like, oh, they don't believe in that. I was like, well, then you're at the wrong. Trying to not curse, but wrong company,
you know,
right?
you
I mean.
on mine.
My wife, you're at the wrong company, right? Like, there's too much thing. Like, don't risk yourself. Your family won't be the same without you. So don't put yourself in a place that will go through. So these are those things that kind of that look at me. And I mean, this is why we work so hard, Rachel, to be so transparent with everyone, being able to go through. I mean, I was very blessed. I mean, like, y'all, I've told this story a couple times, and I mean, hell, I just talked about it like 2 days ago with someone I was meeting, and damn near cried, and I'll do my best not to do that here. But I'm like when I first met Rachel, like, I've had my ups and downs as an entrepreneur, being able to go through. And we did a long distance relationship for a year, which I was like, dude, I just got a 10-year marriage. I'm like, really? I'm going to do this? And when she was made the decision, because I truly love this woman, I couldn't live without her, and I wanted her to move back home here to Austin. But I was going through a struggle. I was still pushing, forcing everything, right? I wasn't allowing opportunity to come in my life. I was trying to force every opportunity, because I was like, as an entrepreneur, I can make it happen. I can create wealth anytime I need to. But it's exhausting doing that. And I had gotten to a point of exhaustion where I was really unsure if I was going to be able to pay the rent that month. And I remember going to Ray and I go, maybe you shouldn't move to Austin. So my ego was in the way. And first she was pissed. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm changing my whole life. I'm leaving a massive opportunity with the EVP of Microsoft to be able to have the fast track, and putting you first, which I've never done. And I'm like, one, I'd never been put first in my life, which is crazy, except for by my mom. And two, what's up? And then I just kind of said, look, this is it. And I said, I'm struggling. And she goes, as a and it's harder with you looking at me, Ray. So now I'm having a harder time saying it. But like, as a man, wouldn't you say to me, like, I got you? And I said, well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's what we're trained. That's what men do for women. Bullshit. And she goes, well, why can't I do that for you? Why can't I got you? And I mean, it was the first time, I think, in my life that someone had told me that. and it was life changing. And I mean, it truly made me fall in love with Rachel all over again and show me the true definition of what love is. And it was amazing. And I mean, like, she gave me, for the reason we are here today, have the family that we have today, have all the opportunities, is because Rachel, one, I let my guard down and allowed someone that I truly cared about to be able to understand what my fears, and she allowed me to be able to be, just to breathe, and to be able to allow the opportunity, not force it. And that's where Standard Authority was truly born, in that instant, in that moment. It had been around for a while, but it had been born in that moment. And it gave me the opportunity to be able to do the things I needed to do it the right way, do it the best way, to be able to reach out and connect with the, I mean, men and women I used to read their books on how to be able to start my own companies 20 years ago, and now becoming our clients. It was an amazing way to be able to go. And, you know, I appreciate this woman for everything that she is and continues to be. And thank you. I'll stop.
I love you, honey. And, I think what's really special about this story, because, the entrepreneurial journey, like life's journey, is hard. Like, life is not easy. It's hard and magical all at the same time. It's like this mix of emotions every day. But what's been really powerful for us two together in particular is this sort of balance of the feminine and masculine that we bring. Yeah, and you having it right next to there, and having that partnership, right? Having that support has been just so important, I think, for you and your growth, but then for me, right? Because for me, being able to know that leaving my corporate job was a massive decision for us. So, I think about your family member that called, like, yeah, I was like, no, I can't quit this job. Like,
Yeah.
even though I am exhausted, like, many people resonate with that. I cannot quit this job. I hate this job. They don't support me, but I cannot quit it, even though I have other aspirations, because I'm scared. Ultimately, it's fear, Josh.
Yeah.
And that is the one, I think, distinction between the natural born entrepreneur and the turned entrepreneur, is that you just go. Like, even if
Well, fear is the what shows us that we probably, this is a moment, this is a time,
right,
this
it's
is
like
an
that
opportunity.
discomfort is the signal
Right.
that you need to go there, but most of the time we
We'll
don't
go
do.
or run, one of the two. I mean, like, if it's a
Right.
10-foot werewolf, like, outside your
You
front of your
kind of
house,
have that instinct. Yeah, but, like, you have that instinct. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but you kind of go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have one. I mean, and it, in the beginning stages, I'll be honest, I was very blessed. I mean, my parents, my mom used to always call me, Icarus. He was from Greek mythology, who flew too close to the sun and burned his wings and fell down to earth. And because I'd always try and put it 100%, God, I go 150, right, and go for everything and leave it all out. And like, if I'd fall, I was really blessed. My parents were there to be able to catch me in the beginning stages of being an entrepreneur in my life and stuff like that. And I can never say thank you enough to them, because it really taught me, okay, I'm not gonna die
Yeah.
every time something bad happens. It's okay. I'm gonna survive. There's ways to be able to get through this. And I think that's the one piece, right? And this is where we have to actually start, being able to go through, and for our fellow human, and make sure others understand this, right? Our fellow entrepreneurs, our fellow everyone, to be able to go through. And this is why you and I spend so much time on, family. And, I finally got to use the name family. I mean, my first kids, I remember my friends were like, dude, you should call your kid absolutely or positively. And I'm like, okay, no, this is done. But we finally used it. We finally went through. And I mean, these are those things, Rachel, I mean, that I love about what you and I do now, which is really humanizing the way people are online, because I think that truly is where we spend so much time. Like, look where we are right now. Like,
Yeah.
you and I are having a conversation online with so many amazing people. We're in the
Across
same fucking
across
house.
Yeah.
We spend so much time on this. And this is why, we have to be able to make sure too, in this world, if we are not going through, like, I totally tried to walk away from everything that I was prior when I went through my reset. And, When you met me, I was, Mr. Rico Suave with my, my man bun and my mala beads, and the pendulum had swung, so far. And it was all about how do I actually just, be that life coach. And I realized that not being a life coach specifically, but how do I actually take that human aspect that I had learned throughout my entire life, being only a child, watching people, understanding people, and how do I actually use that to be able to help people connect and remind them and leverage the marketing aspect world that I had for so long and be able to pair the two to be able to do what today is, which is just humanize the way we are online and connect people, allow them to educate, inspire, and draw people in rather than sell them. I mean, like, to me, that just feels better when I'm going, if someone going like, dude, I educate, inspire people, I draw them in, right? Like, or, hey, I fucking sell like a champ, right? Like, you sound like a douchebag.
I mean, you're hitting, really the essence of what standout authority is about, right?
But guess what? I was that douchebag back in the day too. So this is
You were, yeah, and you're not now.
yeah.
And in the world that we live in today, that is incredibly divided, and there's a lot of fakeness. Online has brought a lot of negativity, unfortunately. Um,
I
it's
just want some man bun picture.
our message. I got Bam Bam pics. We'll definitely share that, Bez, inside the Discord community. Um,
I still, as we're talking about, I'm still amazed when you actually introduced me to your parents. I mean, man bun. I think I was wearing like 2 or 3 necklaces at the time. You
y'all,
know,
guide to my MBA graduation. We only knew each other 2 months. I brought Josh necklaces that, nearly 10 years older than me. And
covered
hopefully
in rings and bracelets and
listening. You picked us up in a truck and they were, I don't even know. I don't even know what they thought,
I
but
remember at that time I was going to my peacock stage. I think I was wearing I think I had one cross and then I had a rosary on it as well too. And you're like, dude, we're
like
Jewish.
you
Can you lose at least one cross?
use the crosses. I'm Jewish, y'all. And not that it was just, little for a first meet and greet with the family during my graduation. We were trying to, read the room, which is a very important piece of branding and knowing your audience.
My ADHD kicked
Okay,
in right
Josh,
there. Sorry,
um,
when Bez asked about the man bun, all of a sudden I had imagery of
we're gonna come to a close here.
yeah.
To conclude this conversation, what advice would you give to any person that is currently an entrepreneur or thinking about it? What advice would you give them?
First and foremost, you're not alone. That's the biggest thing I want everyone to understand. I never want anyone to feel as alone as I felt. Like, you feel like the burden is on you. It's like Atlas pushing the rock up the hill by yourself. We're all in this together. So the biggest advice I would say is like you have to find that person that I don't care who it is. There's someone in your life that you can kind of go to and just be open and honest. I mean, the biggest thing that I push everyone to be able to do in this social media driven world, I don't care who you are, be 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. Because when you start this whole thing of the perception of the Facebook life and all this other things and only showing the good things, like you're tricking yourself. And honestly, you're only hurting yourself. Like you think like, oh, I'm just going to show everyone how amazing things are. Like it's bullshit. Don't do that. Be real, be raw. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see overproduced. They don't want to go through, I mean, like this is the world and that's how you truly change it. You want to change the world? Just be you and that'll do it for you. Because again, it starts with you. And if you don't change you first, how can you change the world around you?
Absolutely. Perfect, Josh. Thank you. Um, the last piece, if you are voting in any state, Josh and I voted early. I just have to hit, if you have voting opportunity in your state with midterm elections, please get out there and vote. Because when we talk about standing out with authority, we talk about connecting online, we talk about being human and real. The vote is going to make that happen so that we get people in office that do the things that we want to happen. So get out there and vote.
My wife always getting her PSA in.
PSA in because this entrepreneur, Joshua B. Lee, hadn't been voting until Ray came around. That's true. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm sorry. I'm telling people. But
I'm
it's
just
really
glad that you didn't just let out all the things that we talk about all the
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Um, this has been so fun. Happy 44th, my husband. I love you to death.
Love you too, honey.
I love that you could be on this live. This is a perfect November conversation. If you're listening, wherever you're at, comment, let us know what you thought, share it. We are going to be back in December. We're doing, obviously, there'll be another LinkedIn Live, but we're doing a big event sponsored by Blue Jeans.
By
We're
Verizon.
very excited about that. Blue Jeans by Verizon. And we're always popping around all over the place. So hang out with us. Have a beautiful rest of your day and weekend. And we'll see you online.